Ozonics Killerwinds podcast back again.
I'm not silent.
I don't know who I am. I'm not saying my name.
Okay.
I am Cole Tanner.
That was weird. Hey. Episode what?
91.
What about if it was episode 900? How many years did that take? We just figured it out. 18 years.
Yeah, so we're a long ways away from that. So
18 years from now, I will, gosh, that makes me feel real. I don't want to just say what I was just going to say. I could be on the verge of retirement. Oh, hey, big week for our country. Well, now it's a week past the big week for our country. When this episode is being recorded, we just inaugurated a new president. There's a lot going on.
Yep.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, they potentially are going to rename. First it was called Mount McKinley in Alaska. Then they named it Denali. Now Trump wants to switch back.
Yeah.
Mount McKinley again.
Yep.
Hey, Gulf of Mexico, let's name it Gulf America.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a crazy time.
If you try to look at all these executive orders, there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. It's wild.
That's actually kind of part of what we're talking about today.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about, that was just a little bit of a rant riff there, but still there's a lot of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about the DNR meetings that are going to be happening in mid-February. We've got a list, hot list, straight off the internet, straight off the printer press, of all the dates
Yep.
and the locations.
Yeah.
Maybe they always have this many. I feel like it's more than it was last year.
I can't remember, but it seems like it's a little more potentially.
Yeah. But we're also going to talk about the Iowa Bowling Association puts out some posts. They have a lobbyist that is always keeping track of what's happening within the legislature.
Yep.
And just an FYI on some stuff that's out there that if you are going to be going to the meeting, maybe talk about.
Yep. Ask some questions if you need to.
We're going to be talking about consumer shows. We're on the brink.
Yep.
When this episode airs, we will be
2 days away
from
from leaving.
just a couple days.
Yeah.
This episode's come. Yeah, we're a couple days and we're on the road to Pennsylvania.
Yep. PA.
And we are crossing our fingers for nice weather. So far,
So far it's looking good.
been checking.
Yeah, it's looking really good so far.
I'll tell you what. I don't want to say anything. Let's knock on wood because I don't want to jinx it.
Yeah.
I just talked to somebody that they said they had 8 inches of snow in Georgia.
Yeah.
They've gotten a pile of snow in Texas. They just got snow in Florida.
Yeah. So we don't know what's going to happen, but
In the Midwest, there ain't a lick.
yeah, there's nothing.
We don't have a flake.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
It's just weird. But
Yeah.
I have a feeling that Mother Nature, Miss Winter, when she shows up, she's going to show up with a vengeance, and
Yeah,
she is
full
going to
force.
she is going to slap us.
Make up for time lost.
Just slap us. And we'll be, there could be a chance we could be turkey hunting in some snow. I have a feeling that may happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Should be kind of cool. Never done that. So,
Okay, so let's start with shows.
okay.
When this episode airs, we are a couple days away from leaving.
Yeah.
We got a couple day drive. I have done that drive in just about every type of weather.
Yeah.
God, 2 or 3 years ago, man, that was terrible.
That'll be my first time driving out there. I'm actually kind of excited.
I'm excited because I just get to sit in the passenger seat the whole
Exactly.
time.
Exactly.
Nick's dreading having to drive. He's nervous. He thinks that he's going to crash.
No.
See how many times I have to knock on wood today.
Yeah.
Why don't you want to drive?
It's a big rig.
It's just a van.
Yeah, I know. But it's a bigger rig. And it's a lot of stuff in there, a lot of product. And
Well, what about me? Aren't I precious? I'm the most precious cargo of all, human life. See where I stand.
yeah.
You're not even arguing with me.
Yeah, it goes product, then coal.
Hey, buckle up out there. Make sure you put your seatbelt on.
Yeah, drive safe, guys.
Whoa.
That was weird. but yeah, no, I'm actually kind of excited to drive out there. I feel like Pennsylvania, where we're going to drive through Pennsylvania, is probably kind of some cool country and stuff. So
Yeah, and I've done it different ways where I've gone through Pennsylvania. You don't really get to see much because it's dark.
yeah,
But the way we're going to go and when we'll be going through there, it'll be light.
yeah.
And we get to go through a couple tunnels.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
And it's funny because when you look at a map, you don't think of kind of central eastern Pennsylvania as being this like real hill country, and
Yeah.
just like looking up and go, wow, that looks like that's a big ridge, and it is like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of bizarre.
Yeah. I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be a fun drive.
Yeah,
So,
it's fun as long as the weather's good.
yeah, exactly.
And that's the thing. If the weather gets bad, we end up just going south. We drive south and we try to get around it.
Yeah, kind of loop it up.
Yep.
Yeah.
We just rather try to figure out where the roads are just going to be wet, not froze.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or slick.
But yeah, no,
But-
it's going to be good. I'm
Yep.
excited for the shows, man. I really do enjoy going to the shows. I think it's fun. It's fun to meet people and
Yep.
just see what's out there. And yeah, I don't know. It's just cool. I really like it.
Yeah, that's, I think, the thing. It's always a bit of a grind getting there and setting up and all
Yeah.
that stuff. But when you find the show finally starts and guys start walking in and we start to see people we've seen from years past, and guys have cool stories to tell about deer they've killed, that's when it gets fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
And we've actually got kind of a cool thing going this year. We are stepping up our game on giveaways.
Yes.
That's all I'm going to say. Don't want to get the cart in front of the horse.
Yeah.
We got some exciting stuff happening with giveaways.
Yeah. So just be ready.
So if you're at the shows, stop by.
Yep.
We are doing some pretty awesome giveaways.
Yeah.
Big step up in our game compared to years past on giveaways.
Something to look forward to for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. The shows have already started. I mean, there's already, I just saw on my phone, the SCI show in Nashville is going right now. Dallas Safari Club in Dallas already happened. There was an SCI show in Atlanta. The sheep show in Reno, Nevada just happened. ATA show already happened. SHOT Show, by when this is airing, will already have already been over in Vegas. There's a lot of, it's that time of year.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about like giveaways and raffles and auctions and stuff like that, there was some crazy news out of the sheep show in Reno. They auctioned off a New Mexico Bighorn Governor tag, auctioned it on the Saturday night of the banquet. That's like the last night. It went for $1.3 million.
Man, that's insane to think about.
Yeah. And when I heard that, I was like, well, do they, it's like, does somebody know of a really big sheep that's down there?
Yeah.
Or just somebody, it is a very coveted tag.
Right.
But geez, they said it was a new record.
Yeah.
I think new record for the sheep show. I don't know if that would be a new record, like a world record, because there's lots of banquets.
Yeah.
But, there was a mule deer tag a couple years back at a Mule Deer Foundation show, the big mule deer show at a banquet, and there was a tag that went for a ridiculous amount of money.
Wasn't it like 725,000 or
Yeah,
something?
it was in the 700,000s.
Yeah.
But yeah, this for 1.3 million for
that's so
one
crazy.
hunt.
That is just so crazy to think about.
Yeah. I mean, and again, initially when you hear that, I think the thing that's interesting is you think, gosh, that's a pile of money to be spent on a tag. I think what's really important about those types of auctions is so much of that money goes back towards conservation,
Right.
which I think is really, really important.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And whether it's sheep or it's mule deer or it's pheasants, it's ducks.
Yeah.
That's what all these nonprofit groups, that's what they're there for, is to really is to step up the game on the conservation.
Right.
Not only what the state's doing, but then, what these organizations do. It kind of makes me think about you and I driving around. What was that? Like a couple weeks ago, we drove past a public spot. And there was a big sign right up front, sponsored by NWTF, sponsored by
Pheasants Forever.
Sponsored by Ducks Unlimited.
Yeah.
And they help these state agencies, in whatever way they can, whether that's just with funding or acquiring land or whatever. I'm not really 100% sure. But again, a lot of that goes towards conservation.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it isn't the way it used to be. When you look at we've talked about this before on the podcast, you look at like the 1800s and the way things were, and we've changed it. We've hunted and killed a lot of these animals to extinction. Bison, sheep. A lot of these things are just gone.
Right.
Or their habitat has just been shrunken small. Look at elk. Used to be elk all across the Midwest. There ain't none left. So I think it's important what those organizations do, and it's commendable that, and it's like I said, people that have the money to do that and to spend it on that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely.
But yeah, like I said, Harrisburg come right up. Like I said, it's that February 1 through 9. We're in the archery room. When you walk in the archery room, if you kind of turn to the right, we're on the right wall, right by the Lancaster booth.
Right by the lemonade stand too.
Yep, good lemonade stand right there. We always try to work out a hot deal with the lemonade stand guy. He's been the same guy has been there all these years we've done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's that whole complex is really something because it's the Pennsylvania State Fairgrounds, and it sounds like sometime within the last few weeks they have the big farm show.
Yeah.
So if you've ever been to the Pennsylvania show, they have a gun room, they have an archery room, they have a boat room, they have multiple other hunting rooms, an outfitter room, like a home decor log cabin room, fishing room, all these big rooms.
Yeah.
And when they have the farm show, they just pack the whole thing with just farming.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, it sounds like it's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I believe it.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, with how big all these rooms and stuff and halls are, I just can picture just all these tractors and combines and stuff in there because they for sure fit in there. I bet.
Yeah.
I bet you it's really something to see.
Yeah. Like I said, it's been interesting. Man, I'd have to think back. We've gone to that Harrisburg show now for quite a few years.
Mm-hmm.
I've been at Ozonics for 8 years. I think the only year we didn't go was the winter of 2017. I think we didn't go. But then I think after that, we went every year, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Well, we only didn't go the year of COVID. It got canceled that year.
Okay.
That was that February. It got canceled. So not in 2020 because we went to, that's another thing. We were in the VRBO and I remember we were sitting watching TV and we saw the news and it said that there was a passenger that tested positive and like that came into a flight in Chicago. And we're like, what are they talking about? The coronavirus, like, what are they talking about? They didn't even call it COVID at that time. You know what I mean? It was wasn't it called the coronavirus at first?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember we were in Harrisburg and I saw that and I was like, isn't that crazy? Well, then we went from there. We went to NWTF. We went to a couple other shows. We got to Iowa. We did the Iowa Deer Classic, and then everything got shut down the Monday after the Iowa Deer Classic.
Oh, really?
That was when it all happened.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah, and then the next year they didn't have PA.
Yeah.
They just didn't do it.
Right.
So yeah, it was just really bizarre.
Yeah, that is crazy. That had to have been a weird time for shows.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what's interesting is the Iowa Deer Classic was the one that really skated.
Yeah.
They had it both years. It was right after everything got shut down, and then they were like, we're going to do it anyway. And so they did it the next year.
Really?
But we had already, there was a lot of them got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, it was like, you're getting a van, you're getting all this stuff, and you're getting it already. So it just didn't make sense. So that was we skipped Iowa Deer Classic that year.
Oh.
Yeah. It was really interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, we're doing some awesome giveaways. I'm really excited about the giveaways. I think it's going to be really fun to see how that all turns out.
Yeah.
Some really, really cool things in the works with that.
Yes.
I think it'd be really, really cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Whoa, truck driving by.
That's a lot of truck.
Yeah, that is a lot of truck because we're in a brick building. All right, let's get to the next subject.
Okay.
That's the sheet with all the locations. So last year was the first year that I ever went to it. A buddy of mine mentioned it to me. He said, hey, you should go to this meeting. And I'm like, oh. And he's like, yeah, they do it every year. I'm like, huh. So we went. It just so happened it was on a weekday and we were around. And so we went. It was really cool. They had, what they'll do is they have a kind of a video. I'm not through this every year, but they did it last year. They had a video that they played at the beginning that was from somebody from the Iowa DNR, like the director or somebody important. And they just kind of talk about the past year.
Yeah.
And then they have different department heads, whether it's, upland game, whether it's deer, waterfowl, predators, all these different things, fur bearer. And they talk about, I think that would be getting predator.
Yeah.
But they just talk about their department and different things that they're doing, different studies that they're doing, some of the harvest numbers.
Exactly, yeah.
So they do these every year. And we've got all the locations. I think this year's going to be a really interesting year because of everything that's happened with the HD.
Yeah, definitely.
Be interested to know like the attendance difference.
Yes.
From one year to the next.
Yep. But
I'm going to just run through this just so everybody knows about the meeting dates, times, locations. I don't need to give the times. They're all in the evenings. You can go to the Iowa DNR website. You can find these things too, but I'll just kind of run down. So there's a few date ranges that they're doing them on. The first date range is February 17th. There's one in Glenwood and in Waverly on the 17th, February 17th. February 18th, there's a whole pile of them. Bloomfield, Boone, Burlington, Sheridan, Charles City, Decorah, Des Moines, Hinton, Spencer, Ventura. That's the one we're going to go to.
Yep.
Then you get into February 19th. There's a whole pile again. We've got Algona, Iowa City, Maquoketa, Perry, Toledo. And then the last date, February 20th, there's a few more: Creston, Lakeview, Okoboji. So, yeah, if there's one of those that you heard that's in your area, check it out. Like I said, most of them seem like they're between 6 to 7 o'clock at night when they start. And then, again, it's usually that it's at some sort of nature center or their headquarters or some sort of building. Like we're in Ventura. They've got their DNR offices right by the Ventura Marsh there. That's where it is.
Yeah.
And they have just kind of a meeting room and everybody sits down. So, yeah, I think it's kind of a neat thing. I think the thing that I like about it, too, is you have an opportunity to, have a voice.
Mm-hmm.
If you have any concerns, if there's something that you would like to see them look at or something to be talked about. Like I said, last year I wrote down, I'd love to be able to use red lights during predator hunting. I'm probably going to write it down again this year.
Yeah.
And then maybe hopefully somebody down the road, maybe that's something that leads to a discussion.
Right. Exactly.
Hey, this is something that we should look at doing. Why aren't we letting people do this?
Yeah.
But yeah, so then the thing you were going to talk about too is that the Iowa Boar Association put out some of the things that are legislation topics that are out there.
Yep.
These happen every year. Sometimes this can be good and bad because you read these, it's almost like a rumor. You don't know if the rumor is entirely true.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that these are going to pass.
Yeah.
But these are some of the things that are being talked about.
Yes.
So I don't know. Good thing to read through. And then again, if you're at the meeting,
Ask about it if you want to.
ask about it.
Yeah. You want me to start reading them?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Okay. First one. Non-resident deer tag allocations. This bill relates to non-resident deer hunting licenses issued by the Natural Resource Commission. Currently, the NRC issues up to 6,000 antlered or any sex deer hunting licenses to non-residents, which are allocated among zones based on deer populations. Not more than 35% of the license shall be bow season licenses. The bill requires the NRC to reserve 600 of the non-resident antlered or any sex deer hunting licenses for non-residents who own at least 40 acres of land zoned for agricultural purposes in the state, referred to natural resources.
So they're saying 600.
Yep, 600.
600 of the 6,000.
Yep.
And yeah, so that's interesting. So that means out of 6,000 tags, they give 2,100 tags to bow hunters.
Right.
35%, up to 35%, which I think they probably hit that number, and it would exceed that number in just applications. Hence why it takes 4 to 5 years to draw.
Yeah.
First off, there's a lot of people that are drawing or wanting to draw. A lot of people wanting to hunt in Iowa, but that's only part of the story.
Yeah.
The other part of the story is that the state of Iowa only gives out so many bow hunting tags.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to think about. 35%, which I guess makes sense because if you were to break it kind of down into 3 sections, bow hunting, shotgun hunting, muzz hunting.
Yeah, I guess it does kind of make sense.
But interestingly, from my perspective, I feel like they could bump the bow way up higher than that.
Yeah.
Because there's probably less guys that want to do shotgun and muzz. There's more probably, but maybe that's just our perspective. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
But 35% is still more than the other two, most likely,
right.
Obviously. Because if you're just splitting those two and you're at 30, 30, 30, 35, I guess it could be 33, 32, 35.
Yeah.
So I'd be up to 100, close to it. But then they're talking about 600 allocated as non-resident landowners.
Yep.
That's 10%.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Well, 35% is already to bow. Mm-hmm. So then where does that 10% come from? 10% out of each category, that's 3.5%. All of a sudden, 35% of our bow tags is now only 32 and at like 31, 32%.
Right.
Or do they take it out of everybody, of all the other ones, and leave bow hunting higher?
Yeah.
If that's something that's been talked about before.
Yeah.
Non-resident landowners. Man, I don't even know how much we want to get into that because I feel like we all have everybody has an opinion.
Yeah, it could be a slippery slope.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely have my opinions on it, but
what is it?
I don't really like it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that it's just gonna probably drive land prices up even more than they already are. I think it's gonna take beautiful big tracts of timber and probably cut into 40-acre chunks.
Because there'll be a lot more guys wanting to be a landowner.
Exactly, yeah.
Because then that's the other thing. The other question is, okay, well, if it's allocated 10%, so do they still have to have preference points, or
Right.
if that 10% is allocated, then they just skip the line?
That's
Because then that's the other thing too. It's like, then I would think a lot of guys are going to be like, well, then I'm going to make sure I bought in land.
Yeah.
Then I've heard the landowners say, or the non-resident landowners say, well, I've bought into the state of Iowa. I have land there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And I understand where you're coming from. You're paying taxes on the land in Iowa.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. That's a tricky one.
Yeah, because
I think that everybody should be in the same kitty.
That's what I think too.
Whether you're a landowner, whether you're just a normal guy, there shouldn't be an advantage because you have land.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Yeah, and maybe I don't know.
Here's the other thing. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that'd be my biggest question if you still have to go through the points system to get it. But then I think if you do still have to do the preference points, it's like, so then what's the reasoning of doing this?
Yeah.
Is it just so then you have a better chance of drawing? Maybe, I guess. I don't know.
Well, here's the other part about it too. Landowners, think about landowners, and this is the other devil's advocate about it. Landowners in Iowa right now, they get 3 buck tags, not just 2.
Yeah. Yep.
Because you and I are, as non-landowners, we can get 2 buck tags.
Yeah.
We can get an archery tag
And a gun tag.
or 2 gun tag, or get a gun tag and a late muzz tag.
Right.
Or an
Yep.
archery and a late muzz, or a gun and a muzz, or
Yeah.
a muzz, or whatever. Early muzz and a bow, or whatever. You can pick 2, but a landowner gets 3.
Yeah, landowner tag.
So how does that work?
Right.
Then they're guaranteed to get a buck tag every year.
Yeah.
Because we're allocating, and again, for me it comes back to, if they're talking about 600 landowner tags, that's 10%. Well, I'd really be interested to know from, like, if you could probably look it up somewhere, how many non-resident landowners there are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
It has to be
really
less than the number of people that are applying.
Yeah, for sure.
You
Yeah,
think
for
that you would
sure.
have
I
way
mean,
better odds
yeah.
to get a tag.
Yeah, and I think I feel like just the way that it is right now with the tag system and stuff, it's kind of, it would be kind of hard to be a non-resident owning land here, because you'd be paying a lot of money for somewhere that you can't really
Hunt. You can hunt once every 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And I
So-
understand that side of it too.
Yeah, I do too. I get that, but I don't know. See what happens with it. It'd be really interesting.
Yeah, like I said, from my perspective, I feel like, again, I'm not a biologist. We've had Jace Elliott on here numerous times, but I don't know. I kind of feel like if it's not broke, why fix it?
Yeah,
I feel like we've got a pretty good system.
I agree.
And maybe that is from the outside looking in, because I'm not a non-resident and I don't own land here. So maybe I'm not the right person to make that call. But
Yeah.
I just feel like if it's not broke, why fix it? Let everybody put in like everybody does.
Yeah, that's
And then if you draw it, you draw it.
yeah, and I think that the way that the system is right now is why Iowa's so good. So
Exactly. And that's what I'm trying to say too.
It confuses me why they would want to change it.
Well, I think that whoever is trying to get this pushed through is they want to change it because, they want to be able to hunt here more, and or they want to get a buck tag every year.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's a thing. Like, I think that's a part that I just don't even think about when it comes to this type of stuff, and the stuff that ends up getting passed. You have to ask yourself, why does it get passed?
Yeah.
Why did these things happen? For example, why did straight wall cartridges get passed in Iowa? Well, did they get passed because it was a good idea, or did it get passed because there was a lobbyist, or there was a special interest group that knew that straight wall cartridges in Iowa meant we would sell more ammunition, meant we would sell more guns?
Yeah.
Do you follow me? So it's interesting that happens. The hunting whole side of things is like a drop in the bucket when you start to look like at our whole nation, at our country, and what lobbyist groups and special interest groups and how they can influence legislation.
Yeah.
You want to think that the show Yellowstone is just a show, but is it really that far off?
Right.
Would we have straight wall cartridges in Iowa if it wasn't for, who knows, maybe some manufacturers that thought, you know what, this could be a really good thing.
Yeah.
This will help us sell more bullets
Yeah.
in Des Moines at Shields, at a local sports shop, on the internet, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. It's just a trick. It's a really interesting thing.
It is.
And you wonder where the interest of this is too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very interesting. All of it is.
Conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Tin hat, not going to go to my house.
Should we go to the next one?
Mm-hmm.
All right. The next one, deer depredation permit expansion. The bill directs the Department of Natural Resources to issue deer shooting permits to a landowner who incurs crop, horticulture, product, tree, or nursery damage of 1,000 or more due to wild animals. Golly.
Wild animals?
Yeah, sorry. Aminals.
Wild bananas?
Wild aminals.
Aminals?
The bill creates a designated deer depredation season from, it's kind of hard to read, January 11th through January 31st. A person possessing a deer depredation license and tag or deer shooting permit may use a rifle with an approved cartridge, a shotgun, a muzzleloader, a handgun, a crossbow, or a bow during the designated season. So the way I interpret that, is if you have extra depredation tags.
Does it say extra tags, or does it just say there will be its own season? If you have leftover dep tags, or you just have, there would be a specific season just for that.
Well, it says right here, a person possessing a deer depredation license and tag or deer shooting permit may use, the weapons that it stated.
Yep, got it.
So I'm thinking if you have one in your pocket, you can use it. You have an extra, couple weeks to use it.
Yeah. Or does it mean if you have a depredation tag, these are the weapons you can use? But maybe it is just that if you have a leftover, you could use it during that late split.
Well, yeah, because it says that it's a deer depredation permit expansion.
Okay, yeah, there you go. That makes sense.
Yeah,
yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it kind of depends on where you're at in your situation. Absolutely awesome, be great, but think if you didn't have that and you could only hunt that one public spot that has gotten destroyed with the HD and stuff like that and around there, maybe you might think a little differently. I think overall I think that for certain places, I think it's needed. There's still a lot of deer running around and we killed a lot of deer out there this year.
Yeah. What's interesting is
like it didn't do a dent.
Yeah. This year was really interesting too, because like I've talked about, I kind of had a rough deer season. It just kind of felt like things didn't work out. I killed a deer on opening day, and then that was it.
Yeah.
just the way my luck kind of happened, the way the cookie crumbled.
Right.
But didn't mean we didn't kill and harvest a few deer out there. I harvested 5 deer during the summer when I get tags. And then I took Jet out there on one of the depredation tags.
Yeah.
Or I guess, and I get these confused because there's depredation tags and there's shooting permits.
Yeah.
So I'm getting them mixed up from one to the other. So I don't want to. So please don't hang on every word that I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like I go and buy the tags and I use them during the legal season. I'm not doing anything out of the ordinary.
Yep.
But Jet used one of those it was a antlerless tag during the U season and said I just got him that. You know what I mean? He shot that.
Yeah.
And then you had a couple and you shot 2.
2. Yep.
Yeah. So we took 5 plus Jet plus you. So there was 5, 6, 8. And then I did 9. So we still took 9 deer off of there. And you would
never guess that.
You would have never even, if you said, how many deer do you think? And if you said like 1, 5, 9, you wouldn't even think.
Yeah.
It doesn't even look like it. The trail cameras, there's just so many deer walking around.
Yeah.
Now that's a pocket, right?
Exactly.
But there's a lot of deer. EHD has ravaged a lot of the state.
Yeah.
And again, pockets of the state.
Yeah.
And, but like you said, I like the idea of being able to go out there late. Again, the nice thing about being able to go out there late too is you can kind of a little bit more concentrate where the deer may be coming out.
Yeah.
Sometimes the depredation stuff, I love the depredation hunting. I like it, especially because you don't have to absolutely freeze.
Yeah.
In the summertime.
Yeah.
But part of the tricky thing in the summertime is everything is super green and you got a lot of corn and you got
you got a lot of branches, and all of a sudden you look down and you're like, oh, there's a hoof at 5 yards.
Yeah.
It can get real up close and personal, which I love as a bow hunter.
Yeah.
So there are definitely advantages to being able to go late. And I think it gives an opportunity where sometimes with the depredation hunting, what I felt like in the past, or these shooting permits, is there's a little bit of pressure. You only have so much time.
Yeah.
You felt that this year.
Yeah. It was my first time.
And I was looking at you like, what's the big deal? And you're like, geez, man, I just like, oh, gosh, I feel like we need to get out there. And I'm like, yeah, but you just can't worry about that. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's about from my perspective, it's kind of about, I look at it almost like the law of averages. It's like, you go up and down the ridge, up and down the hill.
Yeah.
When you're at the top of the hill, you know that you're eventually going to go to the bottom. When you're at the bottom, you know you're eventually going to go back up.
Yeah.
This year, I felt like I didn't have the best look, and I was definitely at the bottom of the hill. I had depredation tags and I never got filled.
Yeah.
Not from a lack of trying.
Right.
And that's deer hunting.
Yes.
Yep. And so, yeah, but you just have to kind of look at it like over the course of how many years I've taken some deer off places.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, no, I think it would be really cool to have a late split. I think the depredation stuff though, as when it really comes to it too, it's kind of a slippery slope,
Yeah.
Like, I feel like when I go depredation hunting, what was explained to me and what I try to do is shoot the first deer that walks by.
Yeah.
The first legal deer that walks by. If you have shooting permits in the summer where you can shoot does or bucks and a buck steps out, shoot him.
Yeah.
Like they're confiscating the antlers anyway. You know what I mean? And then if it's during the regular season and a little doe walks out, shoot her, if a big doe walks out, shoot her.
Yeah.
It's just, and I think sometimes that's the part that I think for just like a normal hunter is hard to swallow.
Yeah.
It's like, well, geez, you're going to shoot bucks. It's like, well, I don't own the land. I'm doing what the landowner's asking me to do. He's saying, shoot whatever deer walks by.
Yeah.
Well, he's saying shoot whatever deer walks by, but you still have to be within the parameters of what's illegal and what's right and what the state says you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's definitely interesting. And I think one thing with this is I think people could read this and kind of start to freak out with the EHD stuff, thinking, oh, there's going to be more. It's not more depredation tags.
It's just being able to.
It's the same amount that you were going to get regardless. It's just saying if you didn't fill them.
And I think that would be the part that would be interesting to clarify at the meeting.
Exactly.
Okay, when it says expansion, does that just mean a longer season that you can go back and reuse them? It's kind of like youth season. That's actually a really cool thing I like about the way that youth season is set up in Iowa. Mm-hmm. If you take your son or daughter out and he doesn't fill her tag during the youth season, they can then use that tag during other seasons.
Right.
If they are capable of shooting a bow, they can use that youth tag during the archery season.
Yeah.
It's first shotgun, it's second shotgun, it's late muzzleloader. Using the legal method of take, you can go out there and hunt with them then.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then again, I had, I got jet shot one of the, just a nice doe on the depredation tag or whatever, an antlerless tag. Hey man, and that was a little bit of a chance because let's try it. And those tags are for the season specific.
Yeah.
When you buy it, and if that season goes by and you don't get it, well, then it doesn't work for you anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've made that mistake with some of those tags because you buy them for season specific. So I'll be like, oh, and I get some. Let's say I have, just using a number. Let's say I have 5 of them, and I just buy all 5 tags right off the bat, in archery only. Well, all of a sudden I only harvest 2 of the 5. Well, I get into late muzz, where I could go out with a handgun or I could go out with a muzzleloader.
Yeah.
Right. And then I only have an archery tags because I've already bought them. Yeah. Whereas if I just waited and then bought them as late muzz tags, I could use that or a lesser weapon.
Yes.
So I could use a bow.
Yep.
So you got to be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so, exactly.
But again, the nice thing about that is then all of a sudden, because for a landowner, he's giving away his tags. And then once the season goes by, if the deer didn't get harvested, then he doesn't have as many to allocate out.
Yeah.
Well, then I think probably in the background, the part of this too is the dep officers probably get blown up.
Yeah.
Because a guy goes, well, geez, you issued me 20 tags, but after my shotgun season, the guys just had tough luck, and they weren't had much good luck on a drive or whatever it is. And I was hoping on the 20 tags we were going to kill 10, 15, but we only killed 4.
Yeah.
But now the tags aren't good anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That sucks.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So they're issuing more, or how they do that. Well, now this maybe solves that problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
But yeah, like I said, I think when people hear this depredation program, and I've been more outspoken about it and talked about it more, and like with this podcast for a long time, I didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
I just did it.
Yeah.
You know, but again, I had the same reaction when I heard the first time. I was like, really? You get to hunt? Like, when? Yeah, in the summer, you know, like other parts of the year. I'm like, heck yeah. But the thing that was really told to me, and I do believe, is, you know, there's a responsibility that comes with hunting all the time, but this especially too.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're out there to do a job.
Yeah.
You're out there to do something and to help, and to, you know, the landowner's having a problem. They're seeing crop damage.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're out there to do.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fun. Like, believe me, I love hunting.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, it's like, oh, it's all fun and games. Well, not exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where I think it has to be careful, because I think people hear this and like, heck yeah, that sounds awesome. But, you know, what about if your target buck walks out and you've got a summer shooting permit and you can shoot bucks? What are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And I'd be lying to say I didn't have to make that choice.
Yeah.
I was doing the whole shoot the first deer that walked by, and the target buck that I was hoping for in the fall, he walked by.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I passed him. I did. He walked right by it under 15 yards. He walked by it 10 steps.
Yeah.
I mean, he was 5 or 6 rows into the beans.
Yeah.
Marched right by, like right by. I remember I took out my phone. I'm like, okay, I got to video this, because if I do not have my cell phone in my hand, I am going to shoot that bugger. Now I look back on that, and at the time, I remember a lot of buddies would be like, oh, never shot that deer. It's an unfair advantage, you know. What do you mean? Well, they're just, you know, they're more laid back in the summer, and they're more out in the open. I'm like, yeah, but last time I checked, you get a deer on the downwind side, you wave your hands in the air, you're standing on the edge of the field, and they're like, see you later.
Yeah.
They just don't stand there.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, look at what you do when you go out velvet, you know, like picture taking in the summertime. You're just out velvet scouting. You can park and you can stop, but if you're within a good, like if you're far enough away that you're having to like zoom up, then they maybe just gawk. But if you're within a couple hundred or under 100, what do?
They do
full
not
alert,
like it.
Full alert, flag,
Yeah.
bye-bye.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I think that velvet scouting is kind of a little misleading, because everybody sees all this unbelievable velvet scouting, like, wow, this is awesome. I'll tell you what, I feel like the people that have done a very good job of this, and I remember, I'll commend them for it, because I remember seeing when they did it, and you were a part of some of this, is Midwest Whitetail guys.
Yeah.
They would go out and they would velvet scout like they were hunting.
Yeah.
They would go out on fence lines. They were almost getting like brushed in. They'd have their thermocells. They were getting all covered up. They were like, okay, we're velvet hunting. You know what I mean? It was they're not hunting, but they're sitting there like they are hunting, you know, trying not to let anybody, especially the animals, know that they're there. And then you can get that unbelievable. Yeah. But like what I'm trying to say is, like, sometimes when you drive by and you stop and you get the cool clip of video, and then you see it on Instagram where the deer like turns his head real slow and just looks. That's all the video they got, because that deer turned and ran away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and you're exactly right about with Midwest Whitetail. I mean, we treated it like a hunt. Like,
yeah.
Like, literally, we would hang sets for velvet scouting, and we would just go up with cameras, and it was good for scouting, but it was also good because as an intern, you kind of got to learn how to run the camera and stuff like that. But you're exactly right. I mean, it's not like we were just going out there and standing in a field and like, oh, yep, we can just film them all right here. You still have to treat it exactly like you were hunting.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think that's pretty awesome. But like you said, going back to that, that's a hard choice that you have to make when it comes to some of that shooting permits during the summer, if you like with these depredation programs.
Yeah.
You know, how are your neighbors going to feel about that?
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, a buck that they've got 2 or 3 years of history with, 3 or 4 years of history with, he's got a cool name, Velociraptor, who knows what.
Yeah.
You know, something Johnson.
Yes. Split Johnson or something.
Yeah. Split Johnson, he got 4 years of history with, walks on the neighbor, and the neighbor's got a guy out there doing summer shooting permits, and he walks out.
Right.
Well, all of a sudden, guess what? Now you're maybe getting into a fisticuff with a guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's, quote unquote, his buck.
the buck that he's got a lot of history with, he's got food plots, all this stuff, and no, you shot him.
Yeah.
And I've had to make that hard choice. And like I said, that day that big guy walked by, I don't know. I go round and round on it. We've had this discussion.
Yeah, we have for sure.
I
have no clue what I would do.
I look back on it now, and
really don't.
I look back on it now, and I wish I would have shot it. Not just because I felt like in the moment that I was doing what I wasn't supposed to be doing. Right. I wasn't like, and maybe it's not like it says like you have to shoot the deer that walks by. That's just what I was told, and I was like, okay, that's pretty easy to follow along
Cut
to.
and dry, yeah.
Walks out, shoot it. If it walks by, shoot it. Don't discriminate. I'm like, okay, well, I totally discriminated. 100%. I look back on it now, I wish I would have just shot it.
Right.
But then that's where some people are like, well, hey, I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
I ain't doing that. I'm not shooting my number one.
Right.
Well, okay. Well, and I guess if it's your number one and it's in your property, you're probably not in a depredation program anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And you probably don't care about crop damage.
Right.
Because you're like, the more deer, the merrier, you know? But if you are hunting on somebody else's and then number one walks by, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I wish I would have looking back on it, I wish I would have shot it. I don't know. I mean, you were with me on some of the depredation programs, and I was like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
You know? And then that's the other thing too. Like we had a couple times this year, we had bucks walk out a little farther away, and I'm like, oh man, I don't know about that. And then we had does walk out like right on top of us. It's like, okay.
Yeah, it worked out pretty good then.
Or, yeah, exactly. Small bucks. And I was like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's, be interesting to see how that works out.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
And like you said, I think for the guy that, you didn't maybe, and like I said, life doesn't work out. All of a sudden you're just in a little bit of a pinch for time and your season just zips right by, to be able to go out there during that late.
Have a couple extra weeks
When all of a sudden the late muzz seasons get over and everything kind of calms back down a little bit.
Yeah.
And the deer start coming back out into the fields.
Yeah.
Jackpot.
Yeah, exactly.
Good way to harvest some deer. Yeah. So yeah, like you said, it's pretty cool what the Iowa Bowhunter Association does with putting some of that stuff out that's being talked about. And if you happen to go to these meetings, bring it up. If you're interested in what's going on with some sort of expansion of the depth season, or you're interested in
non-resident
landowner tags, how's that going to affect things?
Yeah.
You've got friends that are applying. When you're at a meeting, ask. I think it's pretty commendable that they do this. I will say the meeting last year was a little awkward. There was a couple awkward moments.
Yeah.
Some of the people that go to those meetings, they're not happy.
Right.
They go there to have their voice heard, meaning yell at people.
Yeah.
And, there was a couple little like smart out comments and things that were made last year where you're just kind of like a little bit of a cringeworthy moment. You're like, man. But it's pretty commendable. The conservation officers and the biologists, they were very, very patient, and they did the best to try to explain what's going on. Mm-hmm. We even talked about that piece of public land that we were hunting on, and there was all this unbelievable cover, and it was not indigenous trees, right? It was an invasive species tree, they thought, or they believe. And we had a tree stand in that tree, and they cut every single tree down except for that tree.
Right. Yeah.
Which was nice of them not to cut down our tree stand. You know what I mean? And then we were at the meeting and we asked, and they explained, hey, we have a certain, it was like something for like owls or something, right?
It was for bats.
Oh yeah, bats.
And there was a certain time of the year that they were able to cut it.
And that was during the hunting season.
It was second weekend in November.
Yeah.
And that was a time that they were able to cut to not harm any bats.
Yes.
Bat habitat, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that's cool too is there's some spots around here that we had seen that they look like they put in, they plowed in like a fire break.
Yep.
Now again, did they cut in a fire break on some public pieces because it was so dry that they were worried about, hey, if this ever does start on fire, hopefully this will maybe stop it? Uh-huh. Or did they put in a fire break because they're gonna burn it?
Right.
I'm gonna raise my hand and ask,
yeah.
Hey, are you guys gonna burn that? You are gonna burn it? When?
Yeah.
I would love to be out there, because last time I checked, when you burn spots, what just sticks out like a sore thumb? Sheds.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Can I help with the burn? Can I stand up to the side? Can I run and grab the sheds?
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding.
So if there's stuff going on with some of the places that you hunt, things that you like to see changed or whatever, ask.
Yep.
Go to the meeting. It's pretty cool too, because obviously we go there with a kind of a whitetail perspective or mindset. That's what really kind of perks our ear. But it's interesting to hear about other things that are happening.
Yeah, definitely.
With predators and with pheasants and what's going on with the habitat or what's going on with, harvest, and is it up or down, like compared to the 5-year average to the 10-year average?
Yeah.
How are we looking,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people will obviously be very interested in what's going on with EHD. That will be, obviously, a lot of the dust will be settling on the harvest reports and what's happening with that. And be really interesting to see what they have to say about a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yep. I would assume you might even see Jace Elliott on the whitetail part.
Yeah, you'd think.
I think he'd be the right guy to talk about that.
Yeah.
But anyway. So I think we just wrap it up. I think that's a good pod for the day.
Yeah.
Hey, if like I said, mid-February, late February, basically a month from when this episode's going to air, just under a month, check out these dates. You can get on the Iowa DNR website. You can find it and go to a meeting.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. It was really enjoyable, I thought. I really enjoyed going to it. So.
Yeah, it was really cool. And it was nice to be able to kind of talk to the conservation officers too and kind of put a face with the name.
Yep.
Some of those guys we've talked to before, and then you just kind of know them as Matt or know them as Tom or whatever. You know what I mean? You don't really know who they are.
Right.
So it's nice to kind of get a chance to meet a guy.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Another podcast in the books. Ozonics Killerwinds podcast done.
See you next week.
Stay classy.